Well, here we are again, sitting in our remote virtual studios for Radio Entrepreneurs. My name again is JDavis. I am the host of Radio Entrepreneurs and CEO of Mage LLC, management consulting firm, working with hundreds of leaders and organizations over the last few decades to help them achieve their goals and a more balanced and successful professional life. Every week we like to check in. Every month we like to check in with what I like to call Sheriff Sharkey, Phil Sharkey, president and owner of the Higher Authority. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure. As you know, it's always great to be have this time with you and do our interviews. And I think today, Jeff, I was going to sort of pivot a little bit because we were talking off the air about background screening in general. And I sort of want to pump up the Higher Authority. I see so much, and I've had 25 plus years in this business, and what I'm seeing from other screening firms is just not good enough. It's unacceptable. And I sort of want to point out how a background screen should be conducted and how our services are the best, in my opinion.
Well, I think that that's important. It's across all professional service fields. I think people take the easy way out when they're hiring professionals. And I don't care if it's just you or management consultants like me, where I see people being hired all the time because they're in the same networking groups. They don't have the experience. Attorneys, doctors, architects, accountants. People need to be informed before they purchase if they want things to turn out right in the end. So I'm going to support you 100%. I know where you're going.
Thank you, Jeff. And again, I point out, as you just said, people spend money, and the service I'm seeing for a vendor, when you paying them and the service you're receiving for that payment, it's just not good enough. The big focus to me is ease of service and human contact. At my company, it's still run that way. If you call the office right now during our early morning interview, you get an actual person that receives your call. I've had many new clients lately tell me they've tried to sign up with these large screening companies, and they've waited days, if not weeks, to be accepted as a client. Now, there's a vetting process, of course, we have as well. But if you want to use this company and you don't even get a response, no human contact, no phone calls, everything's done by email. You submit I just had a new client, a car dealership up in Maine, and they were trying to sign on with one of these larger companies. 2 weeks later, they literally gave up. They called us on a Monday. On a Tuesday, they sent a background. On Thursday, they got their results. That's the way it should be done when you're paying for a service. It's important, of course. I can get into customer service, which is important to us, detailed reports, which is extremely important, quick turnaround time, usually 3 business days for us in our years of experience. But I keep pivoting back to the human contact. And Jeff, there seems to be in all industries a lack of that. People don't want to talk anymore. Like you said, I have a lot of clients who just go with the flow. These large companies that do multiple things: payroll, recruiting, HR services. Oh, and yes, by the way, screening. We just do background screening, and that's really important, I think, to bring on the experts in that field. They lose no time. Our costs are really right in the ballparks with the large screening companies, and you get a better product. It very frustrates me what I see, what people are getting out there for service.
Well, again, I'm a big fan of the bell curve, and I wasn't when I went to university. I used to look for classes where I thought I could get a fair shot at being on the bell curve at the right area. But, I think what people don't realize is that, it's like the expression, what do you call a surgeon that graduates at the bottom of their class at Harvard Medical School? A surgeon. And so since you assume that every profession has people who are not competent, but they like to make money, you have to do your due diligence if you're hiring someone who does what you do. Why spend the money to do take the easy way out to get the wrong result? And it's the same way in your field and in my field and in all professional service fields. And I told a story earlier this week to people that when I had surgery for cancer, I don't mind saying it, I interviewed 13 surgeons. And people say, wow, how did you do that? And I go, well, I contacted their offices. I told them what I was doing. They let me come in for a pre-screening, and I interviewed surgeons. Now, maybe you can't do that today, but again, I did my due diligence, and I'm convinced that I had the best surgeon at the end of the day. I didn't just take what somebody Once
Right.
told me that just in the last week, their hairdresser, no offense to hairdressers, referred them to a surgeon.
You're so right, Jeff. And as we all say, you have to do your due diligence and you have to be your advocate, in the medical field, absolutely. And for background screening as well. And some of these people go with the flow. I talked about trying to start as a client. I had another client who was waiting 2 weeks for results. And that would never happen with my company. There's conversation. If there's a delay, and again, I can't reinvent the wheel. There's areas like New Hampshire where the criminal checks are taking quite a long time now. But it's that conversation. I would reach out to you, Jeff, and say, the criminal search from Hillsborough County is a clerk assisted search and is taking 7 days right now, so that you're aware that you're not just left in the lurch. And that's what I see a lot. These large companies have these portal systems, and they sell them as this great system, and we've been hurt by some clients who want that. And I tell them what they do is they basically deputize you, Jeff, to become a background screener. So you have to input the information. You have to spell the last name. If you misspell it by a letter or two, that's on you. It has to be redone. With us, we just need the signed release form. It's sent by secure email. Every screening company does. And then I do the work, not you. You don't need to be inputting the criminal searches, typing names, putting in driver's license numbers, adding in dates of birth. That's time out of your schedule. Time is money, right? And you're wasting it with these systems. And then there's the security issue. Just quickly, criminals today, they breach these portal systems. That's where they look to go. No matter how secure they are, they're constantly breached. And that's where all the data is taken from when you have a portal system that they see is so great. I had someone that said, well, I like to check on my work through the portal. And I'm like, my work will be done before you check on it. So you'll check your inbox and I'll tell you, I have my report ready to email to you. So it's just, again, night and difference between caring about your client, who's paying you, where these large companies, and as you mentioned, I saw one of the large companies boast that they do over 1 million backgrounds a year. To me, that's a negative, and they're using it as a boast. We do between 300 to 600 a month. We can do more, of course, but when you do that many, you know what it tells me? When you sign up, you don't matter to us. You're just another notch in the belt. So to us, I have to talk to clients. They have to go over results. If it's Rhode Island, they have to know that the person pled nolo contendere. What does that mean? Is it a felony? Is it a misdemeanor? My field especially needs human contact and conversation.
I think all fields do. No offense to you. I think the people who own companies who are focused on really personal attention, customized attention, attentive solutions are the companies that consumers need to look for especially in the B2B category.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when
You can,
picking a screening vendor, Jeff, 3 simple things: make sure they're licensed, bonded, insured, make sure they're a member of the PBSA, Professional Background Screening Association, as we are, and make sure they're in national screening abilities, which we have, but also an expertise in their area, which is New England for us. So we also see 30% background screening negative is now up to 35% this year. So it's definitely a necessary field. And Jeff, to wrap up, as we like to do, I do have your famous superstar liar of the year here. And which would you like to pick? I'll give you the choice: 1, 2, or 3. We have a choice here.
of liars or questions?
It's going to be either one. I have a person for you. It's either 1, 2, or 3. So you get to pick the actual person I'm going to talk about.
Number 2. I'll go in the middle. Oh, I'll be number 3 because I was the third child.
Okay.
My
All
mother.
right. We'll switch to number 3, and our person is David Tovar. Now, people may not know that name. I surely didn't, but you know the name of Walmart, I'm sure. And David
Yep.
Tovar was Walmart's top spokesperson. He had to resign over a 2-decade-old resume line. This is just recently. He had claimed that he had a bachelor's degree from the University of Delaware, and he was getting promoted to another higher ranking position. And the information surfaced that he never had any degree from the University of Delaware. He has had to resign his position and leave the company, which is probably a huge financial loss for him and a huge embarrassment for Walmart and their branding. So
I wonder if he got a severance. I wonder what his annual salary was. I bet you if our listeners knew those two things, and how much went into his pension fund for the prior years that he worked there, they'd be like, oh,
exactly.
OMG,
Exactly.
what?
And you know what, Jeff, if you were in my office, this would be a 5-minute job to confirm initially whether he had a degree or not. It would take no time and no outstanding amounts of effort.
Wow. Phil, you never cease to amuse me. You always amuse me, but you really sort of state the case of why people can't be lazy about recruiting. If someone's looking for you, I know I do, where do they find you?
Right on the internet, it's hireauth.com, which is short for hire authority. Email is psharkey for Phil Sharkey at hireauth.com. You can also call us toll free at 888-230-5901. As I mentioned, unlike our competitors, you'll get an actual person to talk with you and help you through either signing up or what type of background would best suit you.
And to our listeners who aren't going to listen to Phil today, you're going to have to listen to Phil all of 2024 because I spent months twisting his arm and talking him into coming back and keeping us informed. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to listen to Phil. And I want to thank you and remind everybody that this is Radio Entrepreneurs.